Welcome to Cinebuster, the YouTube channel that tells the real stories behind the cars on and off screen. And the junkyard videos keep finding cars, so we keep telling the stories. Be sure to check out our whole junkyard car series and let us know your favorite car and film it was in. And also be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And now, lights, camera, action. Car 10. H.B. Halicki was a junkyard owner from Gardenia, California, who also owned a towing company, a collection of vehicles estimated at over 100,000 items behind 12-foot blank walls, and a ferociously specific vision for the ultimate car chase film. He wrote it, financed it, directed it, starred in it, and did his own stunt driving. The 1974 Gone in 60 Seconds has a 40-minute car chase, the longest in cinema history, and almost every vehicle in it either came from or would eventually go back to Halicki's own operation. The film cost less than $200,000 to make. It grossed roughly $40 million over its full theatrical run. Two 1971 Ford Mustang sports roofs served as Eleanor, one beauty car for close-up work, one stunt car for the chase. Halicki said they were painted generic school bus yellow to save money rather than correct Ford medium yellow gold. The stunt car was involved in a genuine accident during filming. Halicki lost control at speed and hit a light pole, was knocked unconscious, and resumed filming the following week, with the damage written into the sequence. The car required 250 hours of modification before filming began. Roll cage welded in, transmission chained for safety, camera rig mounted in the back seat. That stunt car survives in the hands of Denise Halicki, confirmed by her on multiple occasions. It still has the roll cage, it still has the modification points. H.B. Halicki died on August 20th, 1989, when a steel cable from a water tower snapped during filming of Gone in 60 Seconds 2. The car that survived the 40-minute chase outlived the man who built it. Rest in peace. Car 9.
Galileo! Galileo! Galileo Figaro!
The 1976 AMC Pacer that served as Garth's Mirthmobile in Wayne's World is one of the most recognizable comedy film cars in American cinema history. Light blue, flame decals, mismatched wheels, red rope licorice dispenser in the interior. Mike Myers based the Bohemian Rhapsody scene on genuine memories of driving around suburban Toronto with his brothers and singing along when the song came on the radio, which is why the scene feels like a real memory rather than a staged comedy bit, because it essentially is one. The film was a box office phenomenon. The Mirthmobile became iconic. After filming Wrapped, the hero car was used for promotional work and then given away as the centerpiece of an MTV contest prize package. A flight to New York, a hotel, a white Stratocaster guitar, Saturday Night Live tickets, and the Pacer. The winner lived in Oregon. The car went to Oregon with her, and eventually ended up on loan or donation to a local museum in Eugene. That museum stored it outside at some point. The Pacific Northwest weather is not gentle with automotive paint and bodywork, and the Mirthmobile degraded in ways that would have genuinely distressed Garth.
So this is it. This is the car.
This is the Wayne's World car, the 1976 AMC Pacer.
It surfaced publicly on Pawn Stars in a condition that prompted a full restoration. But shortcuts were taken in that process, and the car was not returned to screen-accurate specification. It subsequently came into the hands of Kevin and Brandon Mindell, who were unsatisfied with the shortcuts and took the restoration to a higher standard of accuracy. As of 2025, the fully corrected Mirthmobile is on display at the Peterson Automotive Museum in Los Angeles. From an Oregon museum parking lot to the Peterson. Party on. Car 8. The 1970 Oldsmobile Vista Cruiser is one of the most specific pieces of automotive casting in the history of American television. The show needed a car that communicated an entire era, an entire class position, and an entire family dynamic in one vehicle. The Vista Cruiser has the raised roof section with those distinctive glass panels along the top, the feature that gave the model its name, and it reads immediately as a late 1960s suburban American family car that has aged into the 1970s with its dignity largely intact. Red Foreman drives it. Kelso gets in trouble near it. Hyde gets arrested in it or around it at some point during the series. It is furniture that the show built its world around for 8 seasons. Multiple Vista cruisers were used across the production. After the series ended in 2006, one confirmed screen-used example was auctioned by Julian's Auctions and sold to a collector, fully documented with that 70s show provenance. At least one other example from the production spent time in storage before surfacing in private hands, through an informal sale. The Vista Cruiser is not a common car. Oldsmobile built it from 1964 to 72, and it never had enormous production numbers. Finding a genuine screen-used example from one of the most beloved sitcoms of the 2000s is the kind of thing that rewards the enthusiast community that stays curious about what happened to the cars after the cameras stopped. Car 7. The 2003 Dodge Viper SRT-10 that appears in the opening sequence of Tokyo Drift gets destroyed convincingly enough that most people assume that is the end of the story. Multiple Vipers were built for the production. Universal required several versions for the opening race sequence, including hero cars for close-up work and stunt cars for the construction side sequence. Sean Boswell and Clay's Viper race through an Arizona construction site. Clay forces them both off the road. The Viper hits a concrete cylinder head-on. The body is gone. The film moves to Japan. The Viper never appears again. That's what happened to the body. The drivetrain is a different conversation. The V10 engine and the 6-speed transmission from a Tokyo Drift production Viper survived the wreckage, and were sourced by a Swedish builder named Tom Bertling, who runs a company that specializes in using exotic powertrains as the basis for custom chassis builds. Bertling built a custom tube-frame chassis around the Viper V10 and transmission, then clothed it in a 1966 Lincoln Continental body, a car roughly the visual and cultural opposite of a Dodge Viper in almost every dimension. The exhaust was routed to exit through the rear tail lights of the Continental. Saab 9.3 seats inside, Mercedes S-Class rear seat. The result, a Lincoln Continental that accelerates like a Viper, and sounds like one. Was offered for sale through Kaiser Classic in Sweden on June 12, 2024, at 595,000 Swedish krona. That is roughly $56,000 for a car with a Tokyo Drift engine, a Lincoln Continental body, and a specific energy of someone who found an opportunity and took it completely seriously. The Borla exhaust that came with the original Viper drivetrain is long gone, replaced during the build with a Ferrata exhaust system, a Tokyo Drift film car, technically speaking, in Sweden, wearing a Lincoln Continental. I'm gonna make a pit stop because I have a special request. I would like you to hype this video if you're enjoying it. This will help me with my engagement and reaching more car enthusiasts just like you. Okay, back to the final 5. Car 5. Two-Lane Blacktop is a 1971 Universal Pictures road film directed by Monty Hellman and starring James Taylor, Dennis Wilson, Warren Oates, and Laurie Bird. The 1955 Chevy that Taylor and Wilson drive is the car the film is built around, and the Charger we covered in our previous Junkyard episode deals with some of the companion vehicles. But the 1970 Pontiac GTO, driven by Warren Oates as GTO, a character who is literally named after his car, has its own documentary chain. The GTO was sourced specifically for the production as a character vehicle for Oates, and the film treats it as a counterpoint to the more focused mechanical world of the Chevy. GTO is a man telling stories about himself. His car is part of that performance. The two-lane Blacktop GTO has been documented by collector and researcher communities for years. At least one confirmed screen-used GTO from the production has been located and authenticated through VIN research and cross-referencing against the production's record of vehicles acquired. The car spent time in private ownership in the American Southwest with no formal acknowledgement of its production history before being identified. A 1970 GTO in any condition carries market value. A documented screen-used example from one of the most critically significant American road films ever made occupies a different category entirely. The kind of car that belongs in a museum conversation alongside the Bullitt Mustang and the Vanishing Point Challenger, even if it has not yet received that level of public attention. Car 4. George Barris built the Batmobile for the 1966 Batman television series in 15 days, starting from a 1955 Lincoln Futura concept car that he had purchased from Ford for $1. The resulting build, the black fins, the red-trimmed cockpit canopy, the jet exhaust in the rear, became one of the most recognizable vehicles in the history of popular culture. 19 different cars appeared in the series across its 3-season run from 1966 to 1968. The Barris Hero car sold at Barrett-Jackson, Scottsdale in 2013 for $4.2 million, which was the record for any television car sold at auction at that point. It is accounted for. It's doing fine. What is less well known is the fate of the non-hero production vehicles, a non-running static display version of the Batmobile, built for promotional and display purposes rather than driving sequences, was found in a storage facility in Southern California in the 1990s in deteriorating condition. It had been in storage for years, undriven, unrestored, sitting in the specific way that only items that were once famous and then forgotten sit. The car was subsequently purchased and restored. Its current whereabouts are in private hands with documentation tracing it back to the Barris shop and the original production. One of the most culturally significant television cars in history, found in a storage unit in deteriorating condition, and rescued by someone who knew exactly what they were looking at. Car 3. The 1969 Ford Mustang Mach 1 that John Wick keeps in his garage is not the car being chased. It's the car that establishes what kind of man John Wick is before anyone does anything to provoke him. The car his wife left him. The car he drives. The car he is forced to fight for. The film presents it as a 1969 Boss 429. But the cars used in production were 1969 Mach 1s dressed to approximate that appearance. A genuine Boss 429 is too rare and too valuable to put through stunt work. Ford built around only 1,300 across 1969 and 1970, and they traded serious money. The production used Mach 1s instead, which was the correct call. 5 Mustangs were built for the first film. All 5 were destroyed. Keanu Reeves drove one into another car on his first take and ripped the steering wheel off the steering column. He's told the story publicly and with evident satisfaction. The production built each car knowing it would not survive. Every single one of the 5 John Wick Mustangs was destroyed during production of the first film alone. There are no survivors. There is nothing to find. Now, if you're thinking of the John Wick Mustang that crossed an auction block, that is a different car from a different fleet. Chapter 2 required a new set of Mustangs, and some of those survived production. One authenticated Chapter 2 example was offered publicly through a specialist dealer. That car exists, it has paperwork, but it is not from the first film. The fleet that gave us the garage scene, the theft, the entire emotional foundation of that franchise, those 5 cars are gone. The junkyard in this case was the production itself. Car 2. Corvette Summer is a 1978 MGM film directed by Matthew Robbins and starring Mark Hamill. Released in the same year as The Empire Strikes Back was being planned, in a window when Hamill was briefly trying to establish a post-Star Wars identity as a lead in films that were not science fiction. The film is about a high school student who spends a semester building a custom Corvette in auto shop class and then has it stolen, prompting a cross-country chase to Las Vegas to recover it. The Corvette itself, highly customized with a heavily modified body, a distinctive paint scheme, and the specific energy of a car that was designed by a teenager with unlimited ambition and no restraint, is as much the protagonist as Hamill is. The Hero Custom Corvette from Corvette Summer is confirmed to exist. It has surfaced in private hands on multiple occasions since the film production. Most recently verified in a California collection with documentation connecting it to the MGM production, through title records and picture car paperwork. The car has had its custom bodywork partially modified over the years by various owners who either did not know what they had, or had different ideas about what they wanted, and the current configuration is not identical to its screen appearance. A documented restoration to the film's specification would be possible. The original design is well photographed, and the bodywork can be referenced against screen captures with considerable precision. Mark Hamill, who made the car famous, has expressed interest in the car's history in various public contexts over the years. It's out there, it's documented, and it needs someone who cares about getting it right. Car 1. The Crow was released in May 1994 and stars Brandon Lee as Eric Draven, a musician murdered alongside his fiancée who returns from the dead to exact revenge on the gang responsible. The film is set in a perpetually rainy, perpetually dark Detroit, and every character in it has a vehicle that communicates their place in that world. T-Bird, played by David Patrick Kelly, is the leader of the gang. His car matches his character, the largest, loudest, most theatrical machine on screen, a 1973 Ford Thunderbird in blood red, with a supercharger blower through the hood, chrome wheels, yellow neon underglow, shaved door handles with electric poppers, a chromed push bar, and custom side mirrors. The blower was cosmetic, the presence was not. The 1973 Thunderbird body was a one-year-only design, that specific nose with the new government-mandated 5-mile-per-hour bumper, and the egg crate grille appeared only on the 1973 model before Ford updated the design again. Under the hood came either a 429 or 460 cubic inch engine, depending on specification. It was a big, theatrical, personal luxury car, and it made an immediate visual statement. After T-Bird's time runs out in the film in a sequence that involved a fiberglass shell replica rigged with pyrotechnics, rather than the actual screen car. The question of what happened to the real Thunderbird went unanswered for years. Nobody tracked it. It was not a halo car. The answer, found and photographed and published by the automotive community in 2022, is a junkyard in North Carolina. A yard where cars come in and do not come back out. The physical evidence in the junkyard photographs is unambiguous. The side pipe remnants are still attached. The shaved door handles are still there. The popper mechanism's visible. The push bar was found in the interior. The hole where the fake blower was mounted is present in what remains of the hood. Under the trunk lid, where the exterior panels have faded to almost nothing, the original blood red paint is still vivid. The car that carried T-Bird through the always night Detroit of the Crow ended up in a North Carolina junkyard, where, as the writer who found it noted, once you come in, you do not come back out. As T-Bird himself said in the film right before his final ride, there ain't no coming back. Thanks for watching. This channel only exists because you share it and every comment gets read. Subscribe to Cinebuster for more stories like this one, and we'll see you in the next one.